Hey guys, welcome back to TMI, episode number 4. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Michelle. And today's episode is going to be one for the books. This is somebody that we're actually going to be answering a request of a topic from one of our listeners, one of you guys. And we're super excited because it's our first request. And without further ado, I'm going to it is an anonymous request. So we're just going to keep it anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read the message word for word. Okay. So the anonymous listener said this. If you guys could please discuss both sides of a married couple's family expecting married couples to have kids within a few months of getting married and not understanding that the couple wants time to themselves before having kids because it just won't be the same. Just the opinions of others really weighing in on your decisions you and your partner make regarding growing a family. All the pressure on the wife, always asking her what's going on, and other personal questions. Husbands defend their wives, but they talk to the wife like she's going to be 40 tomorrow and it is expired milk. It's a sensitive topic for many, I'm sure. Interested to hear your take on it. So, after
Wow.
reading this message, yeah, I reached back out and I said I'm going to talk to, obviously my co-podcaster about it and to see how comfortable we will be to talk about this topic. Of course, Tanya has a little bit more experience in this particular field because she is married and she did wait to have kids. So, I obviously I want you to take it away and then I'll chime in and say my opinion on certain things. So, go ahead, T.
Thank you, Michelle, for reading that so thoroughly. And that was very specific. It is touchy, it is personal for those who are married, for those who are either trying to have kids or waiting to have kids. So I just want to thank this anonymous listener because I feel like this is a juicy topic.
Mhm.
What I have to say in regards to everything that she said in a nutshell, let me just give a little background to our listeners. I am married for a little over 7 years now. And I dated my husband for a while. Then we got married and we were pretty set on waiting to have children. Guys have to keep in mind, I was 21. I'm now 28. So my husband's 4 years older than I am. So for us to wait, it took, we waited a long time. If you really think about it, I think that 4.5 years is a long time. But he was also starting a business. I was also in school. So we had reason to wait. And obviously from the culture that we're from, and Michelle, you can anytime just stop me and you can add on, it
Mhm.
is super pressurizing, and to have kids right away, or oh, you're experiencing infertility issues, or what's wrong with you, or is it something wrong with the guy? And it's
The
like,
assumptions.
first
I
of
think
all,
it's like really the assumptions that people make
yeah.
affect, the vibe.
And to make those kind of assumptions are nobody's place, and I honestly, before getting married, before having children, I can say that I was guilty of that, because you kind of ask and maybe you don't mean it, maybe you mean well, maybe you don't mean it in a bad way, but it's very touchy. You don't just question people and get involved in their relationships and their marriages, in my opinion. I can flat out say, and I'm not saying this in a to negate anybody, because I know women do struggle to have children. If another outsider looked at my life and they're like, "Oh, she didn't have kids for 4.5 years. She was struggling," and I'll be open. I wasn't. We didn't try. So I can say that that was our decision that we made, and I'll be honest, no regrets, because we traveled, we enjoyed each other, we had fun, and I'm not saying it's wrong to have kids right away either. This is just the path that we chose for our marriage, and I do think that it benefited us. So if you just want to add in a little bit more, and then we'll just piggyback back and forth.
So what I really think is that it's a personal choice, case by case
Right.
basis. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, the pressure, I can relate to pressure, right? Because the pressure we feel from our culture, in our community, to get married young, to have kids, it's a lot of pressure. I sometimes don't even want to go back to visit New York City to see my family because I know what's going to happen. Because when I'm in New York
That's the
City,
first question.
when are you getting married? Where, like, all these other things. And it's just like,
Yep.
are you dating anybody? If you're not dating anybody, I have this guy for you. I have another guy for you. Oh, I have this guy for you. Oh my God, he's great. Oh my God, he's this. Oh my, and it's just, it's a lot of pressure because when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, I'm fine. Like, I'm not like, it's not that big of a deal. But when you're there, you sometimes second guess. You look around and you're like, damn, like, am I really that old? Like, are my eggs expiring? Do I need to have a baby now? Like, and you really get into it. And it's so funny because when I come back to Miami, I'm like, "Phew, I'm good." Like, the pressure's off. So I totally understand, especially since you know this too, that strangers tell you things. I come to New York and I
For
see
sure.
strangers on the street, strangers from our community that I don't know, and they look at me and they're like, "Whose daughter are you? What's your last name? Are you married?
Mhm.
Where are you from? Where? Which city are your parents from? Yeah, you live here? No, you live in Miami with who? When did you move there?" Like, it's a whole interview on the street. And the pressure is on, So again, when I can definitely relate to the pressure in a different way, but definitely the
Mhm.
pressure. To this day, like, it probably gets worse as you get older. It's either
I'm
like
sure,
the
yeah,
people
I
give
can
up,
imagine.
either they give up and they're just like, whatever, like, she's like a lost case now because she's too old, or it's like, oh my God, сколько можно ждать? It's like, how long can you wait? Like this, like, that's enough. Like, enough is enough. Stop being picky. Stop being choosy. And it grows and it grows. And it's just like, you look at them and you're like, where is it any of your business? Even if it's
Right.
close family. I tell my own grandma, like, grandma, chill. Like, this ain't Sovietsky Soyuz. This ain't the Soviet Union in 1960s. Like, this is a different lifestyle we live. We're first generation American, you know? So I can definitely relate on that.
Honestly, also with what our anonymous listener was saying, I just want to add about I don't know this person's situation, if whether or not they have kids or they're trying to have kids, I'm not sure. But if you are listening, I believe it's ultimately up to you and your partner because it's you two along the ride. Yeah, you have your in-laws, you have your parents, people will always get involved. You have your friends, and some mean well and some are just plain, nosy, like to say it at the
Or
least.
ignorant. Or
Yeah.
ignorant. Maybe they don't even know better to say or not to say,
Sometimes
So,
it's better not to say, and I learned that through my own experiences by me, like I said before, by being guilty and asking other couples if they are trying or if not. It's very touchy. And then once I was in that position, the amount of questioning I got the first 4 years of my marriage was like, "What's wrong with you?" Or like, "Are you guys sure? Like, is everything okay?" And they would just flat out say, especially like the older people, they would just be like, "Oh, is it just not working out for you guys? I have a person you can go to and this and that." And I would literally be silent because I never gave you any reason to make that kind of comment. I was good. My husband was good. We were fine. I'm speaking in the terms of not having any issues in that department, and it's just not your place. And I can only imagine, like, if I was struggling, that would make me feel like crap, you know? So, to the person that asked this, honestly, it's up to you and your husband whether or not you decide to have kids right away. I don't think, and maybe I'm biased saying this, that you should look at your biological clock because I was younger and I had somebody at 21, but I still waited. It's not like I 21, 22, and I was like, oh crap, let me have a kid right now. I still had one at 25 and 26, and to some people, that's a little bit older. To some people, that's very young. This is all very opinionated. You do what's best for your situation. Like you said, Michelle, it's case by case basis.
yeah, it's definitely case by case. Um, and I get it. I honestly get it. There is a biological clock, and if we're going to be talking about biological clock, I feel it. Like, you're not as young. I think that you giving birth at 25, 26 is perfect. I don't think it's too old and I don't think it's too young. At least not for your situation. There are 25-year-olds that I know that I'm like, there's no way that person could be a parent right now. They're way too immature. So again, case by case basis. Everybody's different. There's no set age. Um, God brought us into this world with a biological clock. We do produce less eggs as we get older. We do have a less chance of having children as we get older. And it stays on my mind. Of course, I think about it all the time because you don't have as much energy. You're not as healthy. You're not as young. You're the youngest right now that you'll ever be, you know?
Yeah.
So, um, that is something to think about again. When it comes to what the listener was writing, what the anonymous, request was, I think she kind of more so was going towards what our opinion is on other people meddling, right? I think that
Mhm.
what it sounded like to me in the message is that person has already made their decision to wait on having kids because they want to just enjoy each other, the husband and the wife, which I think is an amazing thing. I obviously, if I ever get married, I would of course want to wait a while also. Um, just to like have that time with your partner. Things will never be the same once you have a child, and you know that. And if you're old
No,
enough,
they won't. And I
yeah,
don't say this negatively. Things change because they're your babies, and you want to put them first. Even though that's a whole separate thing. They say to put yourself first. I need to work on that. But I'm I put my kids first and I need to work on that because you need to put yourself first in order to be the best for your children.
true as well. True as well. So I think when it comes to, looking at other people's opinions, I can say that you got to take it in one ear out the other, for lack of a better term. Because if you're going to pay attention to every single comment somebody makes about you or your eggs or feeling like expired milk, or if you're going to sit here and pay attention to all of these things, which again, it's hard not to. And me speaking from someone who's not married, not I don't have kids, and this is a big deal. Even like my mom, who's like the most chill person ever, never rushed me to get married. Now is like, hey
Shout out to your
girl,
mom. Shout out to your mom. I love her.
shout out, shout out. We all love her. But even her, she's like, yo, it's about time. Have some kids. Let's go. Get married. Let's go. And I'm like, what? You telling me? Like, right? What? Like, so again, like, it does get to you sometimes. Sometimes you're like, damn, like, am I, it will get to you. But in terms of your own mental sanity, you have to convince yourself that you know what's best for you. You, your partner, your husband, yourself, and your future babies too. Because if you
Yeah.
have kids too young or too prematurely in your relationship, even if you're married, you guys can end up resenting each other or resenting your children.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more things that can happen. So, what I think is that what this anonymous listener is doing is amazing. I think that more power to you. Keep it pushing and just take what everybody else says, with a grain of sand because it's your life and this is your future family and you're
Exactly.
you're you're creating what you want with your partner, and that's what's important.
Just to touch base, Michelle, when on one of our older episodes, you were saying how influence matters, right? Like we get influenced by our surroundings, by the people who make unnecessary comments where it doesn't belong, even if they're ignorant, even if they mean well. It's not as easy to, hear one thing and take it out the other ear. But I just want to say, like, I can't imagine having children, and it's not the age that I got married, because I did get married pretty young, 21, but I can't imagine having them right away. I just I feel like I didn't know my husband enough. I feel like we didn't do much. If it happens, it happens. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But if you're as young as I was, I feel like 21, you're a baby, And I know people that have kids at honestly 19, 20. I have friends who had kids that young. I look up to these mothers. I really do. Because I can't imagine being in that state of mind. And I feel like I wasn't prepared. I feel like you're never prepared, but I feel me comparing my 21-year-old self to my 25-year-old self, night and day, you know? So I'm really, if anyone out there is listening, if you're going through this dilemma right now, if you're either as young as between the ages of 18 to 22, dating, planning to get married, or getting married, or are married, and if it's obviously okay with you and your partner, it's okay to wait. I don't think I think it will benefit your marriage, it will benefit your relationship, and I know that's a lot for me to say, but I feel like I can say that because I went through it. And if you want to have the kids right away, then more power to you. Kids are a blessing. I don't see this as a positive or negative thing on either spectrum. You just, like Michelle and I are saying, you do what's best for you. You're paving the way to your life.
Yeah, it's really important. And I remember like when you just got married, you had gotten married and you I remember you waiting and it was so normal because for us we were like, yeah, of course wait. Are you crazy? You're in school. Like wait like just wait, you know? And it was so normal for us. I think when I say us, I mean your peers, that when when other people would say things to you, it would bother you. And I remember that. I remember that you would tell me all the time, like why do they think that it's okay for them to say this to me? You know?
Yeah.
And I used to tell you like, hey, like they're just older people, or they're just people who want the best for you. They want you to grow your family. There's nothing wrong with that, you know? And I remember you used to always say, I don't have problems having kids, but if I did, like you how bad that would be and how much worse, you know? And you just kind of think about it and you're like you have to take into consideration those other people who are struggling, you know? And so it's hard, you know, it's very hard. Even those people who are saying something or doing something, it's difficult even for them to know what they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a absolutely. I have a quick little story to share. As you're talking, I remembered something that happened to me recently. And recently, meaning I already had my two children.
Mhm.
So I was walking outside and some random woman she's like a random person. She's like a neighbor. So I would see her from time to time. Haven't seen her in years because she used to live by my parents' house and I've moved out. And she sees me and she starts asking me questions about my life, my marriage, my kids. Then she literally flat out looks at me and says, "Oh, yeah, that was you who got married back in 2016. You just had your children in 2021?" And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah." Like, I felt kind of attacked. I was like,
Judged a
"Yeah,
little.
yeah, judged." And I felt weird. I was like, "Yeah, I waited, I went to school and this is the decision we made." And then she kind of held herself back and went, "Oh, wow. So you're educated. You went to school." Like almost as if like
Mm.
it balanced itself out. "Oh, so you became something. You didn't just stay home." And I was like, at the back of my head, because I know what it is to be a stay at home mom and a working mom. So I was like, what's wrong with staying home? Like I got into a whole thing with her. She's like,
Mhm.
either people just sit around and don't do anything and just have babies, or they're having issues. And I thought that you were one of those people. She flat out told me, I thought you guys were having issues. Mind you, this is a neighbor who doesn't know me at all.
Yeah.
So things like this, and I'm sure whoever's listening, you've probably been through this or are going through this right now.
Or
For
are going
me,
to
it was
go through
easy.
this.
Exactly. And it was easy for me to swallow that because I look at my life and I'm like, I'm where I am because of my partner and myself and what we've built, and I'm proud of that. And I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of that I waited for 4.5 years. But when I hear the number now as an adult,
Mhm.
I go, wow, 4.5 years is a long time. I tell you this now.
Nah, not really. Not when you're
You don't
21.
think so?
Not when
Not
you're
when you're
that
21,
young.
but
No.
just hearing that number is like, that's a long time. So I can try to understand why people had concerns, questions, and comments. But
Mhm.
like you're saying, 21, super young. So for me, it's like, whatever. But looking back, I'm like, wow, we really did wait 4.5 years. That's a long time.
I remember when you were gonna start trying, like I remember that whole like it's so cute that we went through life together. Sometimes I think about it
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, you know. But I do remember, and I remember telling you, like, girl, like, don't be thinking about what other people were telling you all these years. Do your thing. Like, just enjoy it, enjoy the process. Like, I'm sure you're not gonna have issues, and if you do have issues, it's okay. Like, there's so many options, because I know that those people saying things to you influenced you a little bit into having that worry. What do you think?
Yeah. I honestly, in the beginning, yes.
In the beginning,
Because
I'm talking, so
I
I'm talking about the
feel,
beginning.
yeah, I feel like it's so, so important to have a supporting partner because my husband didn't like he was okay with waiting, but then after 2 years he's kind of like, like I really want to try to have a kid. And I can honestly say I don't want to say it caused issues because he understood that I was in school and like he was starting his business. So he was super, super supportive and understanding. And I really appreciate that about him. But at the same time, he also had his desires. He told me he wants to be a father by the age of 30. So just to give you guys a little like understanding, he's 4 years older than I am. So he turned 30 and then I had a baby. So we made it like a little joke, like, I gave you your wish, your desire, like you had your baby by 30 years old, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So I just want to segue a little bit into a little bit more of a sensitive topic for anyone out there who is struggling. I just want to say that I don't understand exactly what you're going through, but I hope that if you're listening to this, that this can bring you some light and that you can have the family that you're yearning for. And I pray for you guys, honestly. It's a
Damn,
lot.
that's so cute. Pray for me too, girl. I want a family. It's gonna take some time.
I pray. I always pray,
Like,
guys,
so
when I
funny.
go to Holly events. I pray for my top people. Michelle, you're there. And my sisters, if my sisters are listening, I pray for them all the time. And not in the sense of like, oh, I hope they get married. No. I pray for a healthy relationship and a partnership and a support system only because I know you, I know my sisters, and I know that's what you guys want. It's not that I want you guys to get married. I want you guys to be in a fulfilling relationship for yourselves to grow with this person and not be alone because in my opinion, I don't want to be alone. So I can flat out say that. I love the person I'm with. We have our issues like anybody else, but I don't want to do life without this person. So and I don't know if you want to talk about this, Michelle. It is TMI. You can touch base about being alone because it is, I'm sure it's very hard.
Um, I think that being alone is such a I mean, again, it's bittersweet, but it's more sweet than bitter for me for now. Living life alone is not something that I want to do forever. Obviously, I mean, may not be so obvious, but of course I want to get married and start a family, have a partner, a life partner. Imagine like having for me, I say imagine you actually live this in your life, but having a partner to go through life with, like that's sick. That's super sick. You create a life with this person. Sorry. You create a life with this person and you build a life. Like you build actual life. You create a little embryo. And
I'm
then
getting the
and
chills.
then it grows and then that person when you give birth to that person is a mixture of you and the other person. Like it's like the coolest thing in life in my opinion. It's the coolest thing in life, honestly. And of course, that's what I want. I mean, I just don't have a time frame for it. So I think circling back
Yeah,
to like the original, of course, when I was younger, I thought I would be married by now. You obviously think certain things about your lifestyle and you're like, oh, like, of course, I'm going to be married by at least this age and I'm going to have kids at least at this age. And it's normal for all of us to think that. It's normal
of
to have
course.
those goals and those aspirations. But again, if it doesn't happen, it's okay. And for me, I view it like it's better that it didn't happen yet. I see it better because I know that when it does happen, not only will I be more prepared, but
Yeah,
I'll be more grateful.
for sure.
And I've mentioned this before, but like when you have these certain things happen to you in your life that you thought you'd have by now, but you don't, and then they happen, you're more grateful for it. You look back and you're like, wow, well, I went through a time without it and I had a struggle and et cetera, and now I have it and I'm grateful.
Also, because our lives are literally night and day, I feel so blessed and I feel like honestly whoever is listening to this can get such perspective for someone like myself and someone like you. And I admire that you're saying that you're glad it didn't happen yet and these are the things that you desire and want in the future because you have had this time to work so much on yourself internally, which is something that I'm doing now with all the other people in my life, like my immediate family in my life, my day to day, which is much harder when you have other, and I don't want to say this negatively, so please be mindful to what I'm saying, the distractions. It's not that my husband and my kids are a distraction. It's a distraction in my for my internal growth because I am the point person. I'm the mother, I'm the wife. So a lot of responsibility is on me. And I feel like a lot of women would say this, a woman with a family. So doing this internal work is much harder when you have all these other responsibilities. So when you're saying you'll be more prepared, I 100% agree with you. Life
Mm-hmm.
will throw us curveballs that nobody will be prepared for, but your sense of maturity and your emotional intelligence will allow you to make the proper decisions with your life partner, with your future children. So for anyone out there who is like Michelle, who feels like there is a biological clock and you guys either aren't dating or not married yet, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's definitely okay. It's better than okay. That's what I keep wanting to explain. Like, yeah, obviously you think like, oh, this could have happened or would have happened by now. But at the end of the day, it all happened the way it's supposed to. You know, you're
Yes.
supposed to have this time to yourself. Like, if I were to have been married, like I said in the first podcast, nothing that I've achieved thus far would have happened. I believe that at least, you know? So, it's always got to find like the fact that these things happen, there's so much for a reason. Like the reason is massive and the reason is always, almost always a positive one and a
And
beneficial one.
also, just to say to the other side of the spectrum, in this case, anyone who did get married younger, like myself, but I want to keep in mind for people who did it for the right reasons, and I'm not judging anybody out there. I know how our culture can be. If you did it for the right reasons, you dated, you met the person you want to be with, and you were fairly on the younger side, it is a blessing in the sense where I have achieved a lot of my accomplishment and achievements through being with my husband. I can solely say that with so much confidence because he was my push, you know? Not to say that I couldn't do it without him, but he has brought me to the level of myself that I'm like, wow, like, could I have done this alone? And this is something that you can't answer where I am in my life. I can't answer that because I didn't do it alone in the
But
sense
look
where
at
you
what you're saying. Look at what you're saying. You're
what
literally saying the same thing I'm saying. But you see why? Because we're meant to be in this place in our life. Like literally what I
that
just
that's
said.
what I'm agreeing with you. Yes, I'm saying
Mhm.
I'm where I am because of what happened the things that have happened in my life. I don't
Yeah.
know how it would have turned out if I didn't have my husband, if I didn't meet him at 19 years old. So things
At my
might
house.
have been different. At your oh, wait, let's say it. Let's talk about
Okay,
that for a quick
go ahead.
second.
Guys,
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 for those
guys.
who don't know, Michelle was our matchmaker.
I
Like,
introduced Tani to her
you know,
husband.
sometimes I forget this part. It's such a major part because I don't know why it slips my mind as if you weren't there, but I know it was you because Michelle,
No, no,
actually,
no.
it
Wait,
was
wait,
your.
wait, wait. Wait, wait. Let's save this story for another podcast so that they
Oh,
have
now you're
something
gonna
to
leave
look
it
forward to.
juicy.
We're gonna
All
leave
right,
them on a cliffhanger. We're gonna tell you guys this entire story because I love this story, and I think T, you love this story.
I love this story.
I
It's my love
love this
story.
story.
How can
Huh?
I not?
Yeah, I love this
Honestly,
story.
I can't imagine how. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't believe how much we've been through, and I think it's so honestly, it's a blessing. A lot of people, I don't think, have such strong friendships to because you need to maintain them, you know. So I'm so grateful, and I feel that this moment right now, like we were meant to do this wherever this podcast takes us because we're such like-minded women and we have such different lives and it's crazy and I feel like it's entertaining, you know. I'm sure whoever's listening, you're that person who's like, yo, I'm just like Tanya, and the other person's like, I'm just like Michelle, and the other person's like, yo, I'm a mix of them, and then there's the person who's like, yo, I can't relate to any of them, but you know, it makes it entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I think this podcast, just to recap, I just want to recap and go over what our anonymous listener said,
Hmm.
which is I'm going to end it with saying I'm proud of you for making a decision without that influence and making a decision that you know is right for you and your partner and your future family because it's not easy to do. It's not. I've been there. I could have made decisions, and I'm so glad that I didn't, based on just what people wanted for me, not what I wanted for myself.
Mhm.
So hang in there, enjoy your time with your husband, and have your babies when you want them. So that's what I'm going to say. What about you, T? Go ahead.
I'm gonna close it off with saying, honestly, first of all, we appreciate the support and that you wrote this message. It was very vulnerable of you, which is really nice. And whatever you're going through, and I'm saying this from experience, your in-laws, I mean, I can't say this for everybody. My in-laws are not super involved, which in other people's eyes are kind of like, wow, okay, you got lucky with that because they're not super involved, they're not super nosy, they don't ask a million questions. Have I dealt with things that they do get involved? They will ask questions, of course. I've been with this person for almost 10 years now, so we've been in each other's lives. Like Michelle was saying, just do you. The most important thing is that you and your husband compromise, and as much as you can be on the same page. You are not the same person. So there are going to be moments where you're not going to be on the same page. And that's okay. You got to find a common ground that works for you and him. Everyone else around you guys, they do not matter. You come back home to this person and this person only. So that's what I'm going to leave you with.
I love that. All right, guys. Thank you for joining episode 4. Episode 4. Damn, time is flying.
Yes,
And
it is.
again, guys, do not be shy. Let us know, DM us, anything you want us to talk about. We're more than glad to talk about these particular topics as long as they're appropriate and something we want to talk about. And we'll open up as much as we can. We'll answer questions as much as we can about anything you really want to know.
Don't feel like we won't put your identity out there. We'll keep this anonymous. Like, this is not a place of gossip. This is a place for inspiration and knowledge and just experiences from both ends of two women who have different lives.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, just to recap, thank you so much for everything. And we are excited, and we'll see you next time for some more TMI.
Bye, guys.